the front stoop to discuss what they'd been reading, or they'd watch baseball games together on the Camden Common. Initially, a number of people complained to Traubel's mother that her son shouldn't associate with such an old lecher, but Traubel, who greatly admired the poet and his work, volunteered to run errands for an increasingly infirm Whitman. Whitman had moved into his brother's home in Camden after suffering a stroke, and though he regained some strength and mobility, he continued staying with his brother's family, where his mother was also then living. After her death, when the rest of the Whitmans left Camden, the poet purchased a small two-story row house on Mickle Street. By 1888, Traubel was stopping by every day, usually on his way home from nearby Philadelphia, where he worked as a bank clerk. As Whitman's unofficial amanuensis, he answered Whitman's letters, scoured Philadelphia for the kind of pens that Whitman liked, and was soon marshalling Whitman's friends together to help pay for his caregivers and nurses. Traubel arranged benefit lectures to defray their expense, and he organized the birthday dinners and iced champagne that delighted Whitman. Efficient and methodical, Traubel also acted as liaison to several editors when Whitman was preparing his volume, November Boughs. For the invaluable Traubel was proficient in matters of manuscript preparation, from printers and binders to publicity and promotion. Whitman entirely trusted him, and with Traubel's able assistance, Whitman published such late volumes as a pocket edition of Leaves of Grass, a complete poems and prose, the volume Goodbye, My Fancy, and the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass. Traubel thus brought Whitman light, hope, encouragement, and love. I wonder whether you understand at all the functions you have come to fulfill here. That you're the only thing between me and death, Whitman exclaimed in 1889. That but for your readiness to abet me, I'd be stranded beyond rescue. As the biographer of Whitman, which is essentially what Traubel had become, he also sifted through the heap of manuscripts, letters, books, envelopes, magazines, and slips of paper strewn in apparently willy-nilly fashion all over Whitman's second-floor bedroom. I live here in a ruin of debris, a ruin of ruins, Whitman sheepishly admitted. If he proposed to burn or tear up a letter, Traubel intervened, often successfully, and whenever the young man asked for some document, Whitman handed it over without protest. Their routine continued with rare exceptions, and by 1891, Traubel felt so close to the poet that he was married in Whitman's home. Utterly comfortable with one another, Traubel and Whitman could sit together in silence for long periods. But then Traubel might make a remark to encourage Whitman, trying nonetheless to not trespass and not to ply him too closely with questions necessary or unnecessary, as Traubel later said. But he pushed back against some of Whitman's biases, both men enjoying the give and take, for Traubel was a committed socialist, which Whitman decidedly was not. How much have you looked into the subject of the economic origin of things we call vices, evils, sins? Traubel gently needled his friend. Smiling, Whitman replied with good humor, You know how I shy at problems, duties, consciences. You seem to like to trip me with your pertinent impertinences. In turn, Whitman would tease Traubel, promising him revelations that he never delivered, such as the secret Whitman described as the one big factor, entanglement, I may almost say tragedy, of my life, about which I have not so far talked freely with you. Prodded, Whitman demurred. Some day, the right day will come. Then we'll have a big powwow about it, he temporized. The right day never came. There is something furtive in my nature, Whitman once told a friend, like an old hen